Hello and welcome everybody, I'm on Proper Vein and this is of course Crusader Kings 3. Now today is a very special video because this is the dev diary day and I as always cover all the dev diaries to keep you informed and to let you know what is going on. But today of course the dev diary, because these are fillers until PDXCON rolls around, we are going to only focus at the very end on the dev diary. Until then I have a couple of topics, actually more than a couple. I have first and foremost the ultimate immersion mod list. There is news about that, we're going to talk about that. Then the next one is PDXCON because I am involved in PDXCON. There's a lot of that going on and I want you to know where to look, what to look, and when to look, so that you can then, find out what I'm doing, what's going on, etc, etc. There is of course a lot going on there. I will keep it short on the things that I think are relevant to people that enjoy CK3, that might enjoy the new game, whatever it is. And then last but not least, I would also like to talk about tomorrow. There will be a bit of a gameplay stream right there, but that is unrelated to PDXCON, I just want to mention it. So let's jump into the ultimate immersion mod list. I have had a great many people. It is of course the most popular of all time, the most popular mod list that has ever existed for CK3. Let's hope that we can keep it that way. You can see you can reach it if you go to Browse Collections, and then right here you just enter all time. It's already sorted after most popular, and then you can find the ultimate immersion mod list, and as you can see it is 41 mods. It is quite a number, and all of these mods are compatible. I have run time lapses, the AI uses it just fine, it works perfectly, at least from what I can tell. If you play with this, I would definitely feel very thankful if you could give me a thumbs up, an award, or maybe even a favorite, or maybe all three of those. Now, when it comes to everything else, all these mods are fine, but they are also basically modular. If you don't like, let's say, Extended Outliner for whatever reason, you do not have to activate it. It's not built on top of one another. The only couple of instances where you have to do it can be found right here at the end. So, for example, we have the core title inheritance and submission to authority compatibility patch. If you don't use one of those or neither of those mods, then you can just deactivate this one as well. The same is true for the Respublica submission to authority compatibility patch. By the way, both of these were created just because of the mod list, meaning that without the mod list you couldn't actually be using these, together in a list without the interface sort of having an issue. Big shout out to Caden here for that, of course. That is the modder behind Respublica itself. You can see it right there. Respublica, great mod if you haven't checked it out, will be featured on the channel quite soon as well. It essentially lets you play republics, and it is quite interesting, but what I want to stress is, again, thank you Caden, friend of the channel, that is why you can play these mods together now, and if you enjoy the mod list, then let me know. If you don't enjoy it, if you think there are mods missing, then make sure that you also let me know, because I'm incredibly interested in your opinion when it comes to that. Now, that is the mod list. I'm going to do a video on the mod list, so what is in it, why is it in it, how might it change, what should you consider, etc, etc. That is something that I'm going to do in the very near future as well. Now, let's talk about PDXCON. Let's talk about the main events first. This is the PDXCON website. It will also be linked in the description, just like the mod collection. First, let's focus on the main shows that are on each day, fairly, late in the European evening. So all of these times are in CEST. I don't know actually whether it shows, if you are not in CEST, it might show a different timing. I'm not entirely certain about that. But more importantly, let's talk about PDXCON Remixed announcement show, because that is where the new game will be announced, where the CK3 expansion will be announced, and I think we're gonna get like a, Q3, Q4, whenever it releases. I don't know. I don't even know what the DLC or what the expansion is, to be fair, but essentially we're going to learn all about it in this PDXCON Remixed announcement show, and I will be streaming it on my channel. So the way this works, I actually asked them and I said, hey, is it fine if I go and, I do a bit of community event, I sit down and I react to what we see there, I talk to the community what they think about it, because I am always very interested to hear your thoughts, and they said, yeah, that's perfectly fine. So, starting at 7:30 p.m. on Friday until probably like 9:30, so that we can discuss it a bit afterwards, you will find me on my channel, in my chair, and we will be talking about PDXCON Remix announcement show with the announcement show in the back. You can see right here that join CEO Eberlingrud, probably not how you pronounce that, as she takes you through everything Paradox has to show, including a new game from PDS. I'm very excited for that. Whatever it is, I think this is essentially the core of PDXCon, so that is definitely something I'm looking forward to. Again, this will be on my YouTube channel where I will be streaming it. I will be doing an announcement, so etc. There's essentially a thing that you can set a reminder for, and if you set a reminder, it will send you a notification once the stream goes live. That will be done, I think, on Wednesday or Thursday, so that you can then set a reminder and be there on Friday. Now, next up, we have on the 22nd the Paradox Awards. The PDXCon Remixed Award Show is where we honor the best community in gaming. Modders, community organizers, content creators, and more will be highlighted and awarded for their amazing work over the last year. Don't miss it. I won't be streaming that, but I think this is quite nice. Paradox is one of the few companies that really interacts with the community to a large degree, so yeah, I mean, you should watch that if you definitely want to. And then the last one is the late night show, which is, we're going to take a look back at the entire PDXCON remix experience in our last show, take one last look at everything revealed, shared, and did over the weekend, and relive the highlights one last time. Also quite interesting. Shams Georgiani is quite the interesting person as well. Never talked to him just personally, but he has also been interesting at PDXCON 2019 with the, essentially panels that he held. Those were quite interesting indeed. I was physically there. Back when we still could do that. That was in Berlin. That was a lot of fun. Now, with that being said, let's talk about the things that I am specifically in. And those things can be found. I think the first one should be under Round Table, and you can see it right here. Building a content dynasty using CK3 on YouTube and Twitch. So that is Saturday from 2:45 to 3:25 p.m. CEST. And that is with me and Berg, Black, and Troy. That is going to be amazing. True channel growth requires cunning. Meet some of the top content creators working with CK3 and learn some best practices for making engaging videos. You know how much fun I have running this channel, so I think that should be very much fun as well. And then the last event is on Sunday, and oh my god, that's gonna be... It's going to be a lot. Let me just get that here, okay? What is this stored under? I think it's stored under multiplayer first and foremost. Here we go. CK3, The Seven Seals on the 23rd, so Sunday, and it reads all day, and it's not wrong. So on Sunday, basically all day, you will also get a stream reminder for that, in advance. So you will get a stream reminder for me restreaming PDXCon, and you will get a stream reminder, PDXCon Remixed, I mean. You will get a stream reminder for this one, and then I will be streaming basically all day. This is CK3, The Seven Seals. Follow the streamers as they take part in a very unusual session, focused around the medieval story of damned monarchs. Each player will rule a dynasty that started from a shared sin. This sin has brought a curse to each dynasty. To overcome the curse, they need to break the seven seals during the session, support them in their struggle, and help them to break free. This is going to be wild. First of all, because it is a truly epic stream. It's going to be so long, but this is very unique. This is a nice concept. It's with PGN, with me, of course, with Koifish, Enigmatic Rose. It's with Matthew, which is one of the programmers, amazing guy, with Zach and Elizabeth, and here you can actually see the website as well. The Seven Seals, it's just a tiny bit of information. This is organized via Turbolab, which you might recognize as the people that used to or do, I think they also did, I swear to God, I believe they did PDXCon 2019. I think they did a lot of stuff there, but I'm pretty sure that they also do the EU4 Grandest Land, and there's going to be a lot going on. There's some more information here again, but most importantly, make sure that you tune in on my stream. I think it will be outstanding. And then the last thing that I want to show you when it comes to PDXCon is essentially, let me just find that here. Where could I find that? Is it here? Wait, let's do CK3 only. Oh yeah, here we go. A String of Kings, that is also on Sunday, so you can imagine that I will be there the entire day for the Seven Seals event, and then A String of Kings from 7:10 to 9:10 p.m. CEST. Right here. It's going to be a lot of fun, despite me probably essentially being dead at the end of it, but I am very excited for this. Our most cunning Crusaders play a tag team stream of CK3, join the fun and see what happens when a new ruler steps into the dynasty. So I will not be for the entirety anyway, but you can find that. I think it might be on the, I think this is actually going to be on the actual PDXCon channel, I think, right? Yeah, I think so. Honestly, I don't want to give you any wrong info here. I gotta like catch up with the organizational flow there myself, but it's with Troy, PGN, me, Koifish, Enigmatic Rose, Magnus, so that is Maneth, with Matthew, with Zach and Elizabeth, as well as Jakub. Very exciting stuff. I hope that you are going to be tuning in. So just remember, Friday I will be restreaming the announcement show. We will hang out, we will talk about it. Then on Saturday, there's interesting stuff like the awards shows, for example. Obviously, there will be more information on Saturday and every day, basically, after the announcement show, about the new game, about CK3's expansion, etc, etc. And then on Sunday, on my channel, all day stream, I will perish. If you want to see a man suffer and still enjoy himself, then definitely tune in. Tomorrow, so that is Wednesday, I will be streaming the old Kazara save, so that is the Dear the Stranger save. If you are interested, then make sure to join me there as well. It's going to be an intense week. It's going to be a very intense week here. Now, let's jump into the actual dev diary. My apologies again. I just think this was a nice something to pick up. I want you to stay informed, and of course, you were able to jump through it with the chapters anyway. This is dev diary number 60, The Cost of Warfare. It is yet again about the Azure patch, so this is not related to the expansion. This is just essentially completely a fill, let's be real here. I don't even hold it against them. They had a bunch of, you know, a bit of a period where they had no dev diaries, and then they have this dev diary and the dev diaries that we had before then, and the no dev diary period was worse. That's my personal take. This is, of course, something that they can reveal after all this stuff is out. They can start doing expansion news, and that is where it gets exciting. But let's jump into this one. Declare War Window 1.4. You can already see a couple of differences here. Choose an objective was just a button in the past. I know a lot of people missed it. It would open a new window here, but most people didn't know about it. And here can you now change the CB. So instead of having a CB list and just a button for the objective, it's exactly the other way around. I think this is fine. The power comparison here is also fine, although again, I would rather have the actual flags of the allies next to it so that I could see whether their allies are at war. I explained that in my warfare tutorial that I released very recently, that most of the time this number is lying because, you know, enemies that are at war themselves as a main participant will not come to the aid of anybody, so that number oftentimes is completely useless, but it's still a better interface for sure. Dynamic mercenary cost. This one is a good one. When it comes to mercenaries, we adjusted how their cost is calculated. Their price of a company is now affected by a few parameters. The primary title, the size of the realm, and the current innovation area. So it just gets more expensive. The further advanced you are, it gets expensive if you are in a position where you are an emperor, for example, versus a count, and it gets more expensive the larger you are, because of course, yeah, if somebody sees, hey, the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire is going to hire us, they're going to demand more money than compared to, hey, the Count of Paris wants to see us. It's, you know, I mean, it just makes sense. Dynamic garrison. Your upcoming war will have a quite different pace. From now on, the garrison will be depleted at the end of a successful siege. It means that a freshly captured territory will be defenseless for a while, making recapturing it faster. After a siege, the garrison will recover over months or years, and the speed can be increased by improving the holdings. It will thus be easier to counterattack and recover territories you lost recently. Now, this is interesting. It definitely is something we know from CK2. It is also a mechanic that I'm ambivalent towards, primarily because it can also mean that you just have a constant back and forward, but in CK3 compared to EU4, for example, in CK3 the actual war goal matters much more in war score calculation than it does in EU4. In EU4 everything is basically blanket sieging, carpet sieging. In CK3 you don't really have that, so I'm not too worried about this mechanic. I think this is also a good change, albeit minor. Factions update. This one is a massive one, and I saw some of the comments on Twitter as well, both in the forums and on Twitter, be a bit upset about this. And I personally can't agree. So, factions update. In order to make your life harder when you start conquering the world, we tweaked the logic behind the creation of factions, and they should be more threatening now. One of the big changes is their ability to synchronize their declaration. The power they need before pushing their demand is now dynamic and reacts to the state of the other factions. If a faction is threatening you or is already at war with the ruler, it will be easier for another faction to push their demands. It should create more challenging situations and you might want to concede to some factions to avoid struggling with too many opponents. I saw the general... People were upset because this supposedly is anti-wide and just pro-tall. And I couldn't disagree more. Obviously, if you have a tall realm, so a small realm, but that is very, you know, tall, so like you have a lot of upgrades in your domains, etc., etc., obviously, this is beneficial for that sort of playstyle, because you generally act without factions in that sort of playstyle. There are no peasants that are angry because you just conquered them, because you don't conquer, and all of your vassals are basically like 3 people, so you also don't really bother with them. I don't think this ever even touches the tall playstyle. I just think that more than anything, this makes it so that people actually... I mean, the biggest complaint, one of the biggest complaints that I've heard about CK3 in recent times is the fact that it is quite easy, and that is true. I mean, to me, as somebody that has played more than 1.5 decades of, you know, grand strategy games, any grand strategy game is easy. That doesn't mean that I'm really good at all of them, but me actually losing is almost impossible. Because I just know, you know, when to exactly come in with what method, what I need to do to stop, in EU4, for example, the peasants taking over, etc., etc. At that point, you gotta roleplay. So I don't really agree with the it's too easy approach. Primarily, what I do agree with is there could be more mechanics. I think there is a valuable difference between too easy and there aren't enough mechanics. I completely agree with the second one, not with the first one, but I will say that if it was too easy for you, please re-evaluate, because you can see the numbers right here. Nobody's rebelling at this, right? Nobody's rebelling, but since there is so much unrest in the realm, there is now something where faction military power is influenced by existing faction -40. That is massive. That is huge. That really pushes down the threshold until they can rebel. And as you can see, they can rebel right there. I think this is a good change. I think this makes it so that factions actually are dangerous for the player, so the player now has to decide to sometimes lose, and I think that was always one of the strengths of CK3. Losing didn't mean that your game was over. In Hearts of Iron 4, if you lose, the game is over. In EU4, if you lose, it means that oftentimes you fall behind in tech, you fall behind in many situations that really take you, centuries to catch up. In CK3, that is not the case. In CK2, that was not the case. So encouraging you to lose here is not bad, even if, of course, if you just keep blobbing and blobbing and blobbing, it will make it harder for you to keep the realm together, but I'll be honest with you, I think a good player can still do it. I think that is totally possible. Now, this one is massive. This one is, oh my god, look at this. Faction military power, 24%. So this is, if I understand this, yeah, this is the same thing. This is still the Seljuks, this is 1103. This is in 1103, so this is literally the same thing. This faction is now rebelling. We still have the same amount of factions, so that is 4. But a rebelling faction adds another 30%, so we're talking about minus 70, and all of a sudden, all of these tiny factions that before that weren't able to rebel get a huge boost and possibly can rebel. Now, is that maybe a bit over the top? I feel like 30% are quite heavy, because if you had 2 factions that are rebelling at the same time, doesn't that mean minus 100? I mean, I don't know how it scales, but it seems rough, right? That's all I'm saying. I think it seems rough. I think the mechanic behind this in general is excellent. I hope maybe... I don't know whether the numbers work out. Of course, I haven't played on this version, but I would be very interested in actually seeing that, because this is hefty. Now, with all that being said, though, I think, again, I very much welcome the change, because it makes it so that you have to consider what is going on internally, and you either become incredibly cruel, and so far, being incredibly cruel is incredibly overpowered, because it makes it so that you can simply, kill a couple of prisoners, and all of a sudden you have maximum dread. It is insane. So, the way I see it, this is a good change. Whether it actually works out fully, we will see about that, but yeah, there you go. And that's it for today's Dev Diary, but before leaving you a quick reminder, yeah, we already talked about PDXCON. Join their Discord server indeed. An interesting change here was, in addition to that, characters will be more inclined to join an independence faction if they own enough territories outside of the de jure area of the primary title of their liege. So even if they hold a de jure title, as long as they hold enough titles outside of the de jure area, they might still be joining independence factions. I think this is nice. Should also make it so that everything that is essentially adjacent to external realms is something that could possibly rebel. If we could get a function where I, as an external realm, could also support those rebels when they, actually rebel for independence, that would be very nice, but here we are. And then down here, this is also important. I didn't mention it, but now characters will never join a faction if they have a high opinion of their liege, and it's a threshold of 80. So, if a character has an 80 opinion or higher of you, they will never join a faction. And I will say, I think it's fine. But man, 80 is a tall task. I think they are making the game harder. I'll just tell you straight up. In CK2, the threshold was 35. Roughly 35. I think it was slightly influenced by traits, actually, but it was 35, and then, some additional calculations. Here, it will be 80. That's pretty wild. More factions make it easier for other factions to rebel. That's pretty hard. I think they are working on making this game harder. I think this is a good move. I personally welcome it. Let me know what you think. Are you on the side of the people that disagree, that think that blobbing, that playing wide should be more beneficial? Then do let me know. Again, I don't agree, but at the end of the day, this is a grand strategy game. If you are having fun, then that's great, and if this is, diminishing your fun, then it sucks for you. So do let me know in the comments. I would like to see your opinions. Please do tune in for the stream tomorrow. Please do. There's going to be a reminder very soon. So one of those, that I talked about earlier. Please do tune in for the PDXCON announcement show, and please do tune in for my day-long adventure on Sunday. For the moment, I would like to thank the members of the channel, namely the Barons, the Counts, and the Dukes. Thank you all so very much. I truly do appreciate it. For now, later, alligator.